Hi everyone. Thank you everyone for joining our session and thank you for presenters. Welcome to Aussizz Conclave 4.0 and the session Cookery Occupations, PR Courses and PR Pathways. And now meet our team. First one, we have our education consultant, Diana Trac. Diana is an education agent at Aussizz Group dedicated to assisting international students with their academic journeys in Australia. We have registered migration, Mayank Kapoor. Mayank is experienced migration agent based in Victoria State, specializing in GSM visas, which is general skill migration. And we've met Fong. Iris is a registered migration agent based in WA. And the last one, Hassan. Hassan Ali stands out in Australian migration law with his technical skills. That's on for my part. And now we start the main session. And Diana, this is your stage. Can you please take first?
Hi everyone. So my name is Diana. I'm an education consultant from Aussizz Group. So for today's session, we are going to talk about the commercial cookery coursework, right? So before getting in, the main expected career outcome for like students when they are studying commercial cookery coursework are chef, cook, sometimes cafe or restaurant manager. However, like we will focus mainly on the occupation chef and cook for today's session. Okay, so we're gonna talk about chef first for this occupation. So a task of a chef is to design menu, plans and organize the preparation and cooking of food in a dining or catering establishment. So there's a many types of chef as on the slide. So we have chef de partie, which is a station chef in charge of a particular area. Commis chef, a professional kitchen assistant who works under the supervision of a head chef or the chef de partie. Demi chef, an assistant chef who work mostly in food preparation. Second chef or sous chef is the second in command when to run the kitchen when the executive chef is in absence. So I know that some of the students who are studying like commercial cookery, they are like some of them are for their PR prospect, but some of them they just want some skills that can earn themselves a good amount of income in the future. So so the average salary for the chef position in Australia so will be 70,000 to 75,000 per annum. Hourly will be around $30 to $35. And then so as in the these two tables, we can see that to work as a chef, you don't need to like study up to bachelor or higher degree or like master. So the certificate 3 and certificate 4 will help you to be qualified and get enough knowledge and skills to work as a chef. So for the age, mostly young people from 25 to middle age around like 44 years old. They are working in the chef at the moment. And so after chef, we will be talking about cook. Okay, so cook is to the task of a cook is to prepare, season, and cook food in a dining or catering establishment. So as a cook, you can earn around 65,000 to 75,000 per annum, and then earn around $25 to $30 per hour. So for as same as chef. So if you want to work as a cook, they doesn't require much like very high qualification. Sometimes you just need a certificate 3 and 4 and you'll be able to work as a cook. So for the age, as you can see over here, so people from from the age 25 to 34, like most of them are working as a cook. Other than that, then we have a little bit older, which is around 45 to 54. we're going to talk about the entry requirement for the course, commercial cookery, right? So because this is not a higher education program, so they don't have very high entry requirements. So the course requires a student to be 18 years old and above, completed schooling to equivalent of Australian year 10 or year 11. And then you need to meet the English requirement, which is IELTS overall 5.0 or PT of around like 42. Next one. So for the whole coursework, the duration will be 2 years. So tuition fee, it really depends on the education provider. So, but I would say that the tuition fee for commercial cookery will starting from around 22,900 or 23,000 for the 2 year. So for this course, all the international colleges, they have rolling intake January, April, July, October, and moreover, some of the school, they do have monthly intake. So you will need to check with the education provider itself. So this the normal package course of the commercial cookery, you study 1 year of certificate 3 in commercial cookery. And then after that, you study half year of kitchen certificate 4 in kitchen management. And then the last course will be 6 months of diploma of hospitality management. However, right now there are the new package, which means you're studying 1.5 years in certificate 4 in kitchen management and diploma of hospitality management for 6 months. Neither the two package, they will both qualify you to work in the occupation chef or cook. That's it for my section for today. So I'm going to pass the next part to Mayank.
Well, thank you very much. Hi there. Hi, everyone. This is Mayank Kapoor. I'm a registered migration agent. So you had a wonderful session about how to study the commercial cookery and things like that. Now we have a session that what do we do after finishing our studies. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know once you start looking into it. So yeah, if you can see my screen, just say yes on the text over there. Right. Okay. So after finishing this course, Certificate 4 and diploma, you will become a chef or a cook. If you have done Certificate 3, then it's cook, and a Certificate 4 is a chef. So once you finish your course, you need to assess your degree. The authority is TRA, Trade Recognized Australia. Trade Recognized Australia is one of the best known authority who does a skill assessment for most of the trade occupations. For example, carpenter, bricklayer, plumber, things like that. So one of the occupation they also assess is cookery and cook and chef. So before starting with TRA, you need to apply for a 485 visa. Right. So the very first step in order to apply for your skill assessment thing is to do a PSA. So there are 5 pathways, out of which the first step is PSA. That is required for 485 visa and also for the JRP program, which is the second step of our a pathway for the skill assessment. So this PSA program, the requirement for it that you need to have a 360 hours of work in your as a part of your course, or maybe separately as well. But if you finish it, then only you can apply for it. And there is a separate requirement for 485 visa as well. That is for your English requirement that you need to do. The English is at 6.5 bands, with no band less than 6. So that is a 485 visa requirement, but not the TRA requirement. TRA requirement is that you should be finishing your certificate 3 or certificate 4 as per the requirement. And then you need to be that in that particular things, you need to be finishing 360 hours of your work placement as a part of your course. The second step is JRP, Job Ready Program. In this, you need to work for 1 year, and you have to register your employer with them. That employer, has proper equipments and they are following the all the requirements for JRP program. So they want to know that like who you are working with, and that you need to register on it. So that is required for JRP is required for GSM visa, General Skilled Migration visa, which is 189, 190, and 491 visa, and also employer sponsored visa. For example, 186, 482, and 494 visa. So this you definitely have to do if you have if you want to apply for these visas category. The next, the authority the next step is, or not the step, it's a pathway is TSS. That is for 485 temporary skilled shortage visa, that only for 485 visas. If you want to apply for 485 visa, you need to go for with TSS program. There is not much difference between that program. It is just that they want to keep it separately to know that how many people have applied for 482 visa, and that they want to assess it separately. So that's the reason they have listed it in as a separate pathway. Our next pathway is OSAP, Overseas Skill Occupational Assessment Pathway, which is people who have done overseas education from different countries and have got experience in that country. So OSAP has the list of the countries and the occupations listed over there. So if the list if that country and occupation is matching in that particular pathway, then only you can get it done with OSAP. If not, then you can also do it. There's a different pathway for it, that is MSA. So with this pathway, it's the same as what you should have an overseas education and overseas experience. And which is the listed is not listed in in OSAP pathway. So if it is not listed, you can still get the skill assessment done, and that can be done by MSA. Right now, let's look about how this pathway works and what are the requirements for that. Okay, so there are certain requirements for it. The qualification, first of all. So first, let's talk about JRP, Job Ready Program. In this program, you should have an Australian qualification, like Certificate 3 and Certificate 4, which you have done from from Australia only. For work-wise, there is a requirement that you need to have a JRP ready. So for JRP, you don't need any work experience, but to JRP itself is a 1 year of experience. So you need to have you have to work in this program. It's a paid program, and that is for 1 year. And for this, there's an interview which has to be conducted in the middle of it. That is in step 3. And then at step 4, you just get the skill assessment done. Okay, so there are 4 pathways. One is PSA that you have to do at the time of starting or at the time of applying for 485 visa. The fees for PSA is $130. That is the authority fees. And then the 6th step is JRP. Okay, and JRP is again you have to enroll with your employer with them, and have to pay to the authority the $490. The third step is JRWA, work assessment. Job ready work assessment means that after 6 months they will come and assess you, as in whether you're working as a chef or cook over there and how you're performing your duties. They might ask you a few questions related to your recipes, under what temperature you can maintain food, and for how long, things like that. And then there will be a JRFA, Job Ready Final Assessment. And at the first stage, they just give you, final assessment. For that, you need to pay $75 to get the skill assessment, right? For this particular session, we have added that whether you need an Australian visa requirement or not. So JRP program has to be done in Australia. For that, you need to have a 485 visa, as I mentioned. And that is, yes, you need to have a Australian visa to work here for GRP. Next program for us is OSAP, Overseas Skill Assessment Program, in which we do people who have got overseas experience or overseas, qualification. You can also get it done or assist your degree and apply for a skill assessment through OSAP program. Well, TRA can do both licensed and non-licensed program as well. Today we are talking about non-licensed, which is cook and chef. These are not requirement, but I just mentioned just for your information that they also do the licensed program as well. Okay, so for non-licensed trade program and no formal training, you need to have a 5 years of relevant experience. So if you don't have any qualification, overseas qualification, but you need to have a 5 years of experience, then you can go through pathway 1 and can get this assessed. Right. Second is that if you have a formal training, that means that for a formal qualification, you have studied something in India or any other country related to this course, and then also working the same occupation, then that 3 years, work experience is required for that. So with formal training and 3 years of work experience, you can get it assessed, or without formal training, that means without qualification and 5 years of work experience, you can get it. You get a skill assessment done through pathway 1. Now let's talk about pathway 2. In this pathway, if you have a 3 years of experience, that has to be done. By the way, it's a caption that start that 1 year of experience is in the last 3 years. It's required for all this category. So that if you have a 5 years experience, 1 year experience need to be there for within last 3 years. Similarly, with 3 years of, if you have 3 years of experience, your 1 year of experience should be there in last 1 year. Okay. Similarly, with this Australian qualification, if in pathway 2, if you have an Australian qualification, but you somehow didn't join the GRP program, and then you have a 3 years of experience, over there, then you can also qualify as pathway 2 program. Now, in this program, the interview will be having, they will conduct the interview, and then they will also take a technical assessment in related to, your occupation. So they can also come back to you, and then, at your workplace, they might ask you a few questions related to the recipe and kitchen management and the food management, things like that. Now, the fee structure for that, for pathway 1 is that you need to pay the first step is $1,120. And at the time of a technical assessment, you need to pay $2,000. In pathway 2, the same fees applies in step 1. So step 1, you pay $1,120, and at the time of technical assessment, you need to pay $900. So these are the two payments that you need to pay at that point of time when you are in the middle of assessing your qualification and your work experience. For this, you don't need to have a visa required, Australian visa requirement. You can get it done in your home country, wherever you are working, and at your home home country, at your workplace. So the authority have tie-ups with many of the agencies back in different countries. They will pass over that information about you to them, and they will come and assess all your degrees and qualification and technical interviews as per their standard and as per their guidelines. So that you can do at your home country. You don't need to have an Australian qualification. Third and foremost important, MSc program. In this program, same as that, if you have a 3 years of experience, you can get it done, right? For this relevant qualification gained in or outside Australia, you should have a qualification back in your home country or in Australia. Then also you can go and for this program. Again, same, you need to have a 3 years of experience. 1 year of experience should be in last 3 years. Is mandatory. That is requirement. As I mentioned in my previous video, that for OSAP, you need to have a country and occupation listed in that particular program. Then only you will be able to get the skill assessment done. If not, then you get it done with the MSc, pathway. So this pathway has no difference, but only difference is that your list of the country and the occupation is not listed in OSAP. So that's the reason you can still get it done and through MSc. So the requirement is the same. You should have an qualification, and you should have work experience for 3 years. In this one, we don't have an interview, so it's good for you. So people who want to go for MSc program, then it is easier for them. And the fee is a lot cheaper as well. It's just $795 for MSc program. In this one, again, you don't need to have an Australian visa requirement. You don't need to have it. You can get it done at your home place. Sorry about it. At your home country, at your workplace, and that can be done with the different agencies hired by the authority itself in that particular country. Let's jump on to the next slide. So after finishing this skill assessment, you have the options to apply. So you have a GSM visa options, 189, 190, and 491. And employer-sponsored visa category, which is 482, 186, and 494. So 189 is a permanent visa. If you do not know, 190 is also a permanent visa, but it is a state-sponsored visa, which is whereas 189 is a skill independent visa. That means that you don't need to have any sponsored from any state or any person in particular. 491 is also divided into 2 categories. One is state sponsored visa, which is like regional state, and then or else you need to have a family sponsored visa. So there's a category that if your family member is living in regional area and if they have a permanent residency, you can apply for 491 visa with this pathway. So and after 491, you apply for 191 visa, which is a permanent visa. So it is a temporary visa, or you can say it's a pathway to PR. Second category visa options that we have is employer sponsored visa options. That is 482, 186, and 494. 482 is a medium temporary skill shortage visa. That means that you can apply, you get this visa for 2 years, and then you get eligible to apply for 186 visa. And 482 is a temporary visa, whereas 186 is a permanent visa. Okay. For 482, the requirement is that you should have a 2 years of work experience. The requirement is going to be changed from November this year, that you need to have 1 year of experience in your nominated occupation. So if you have a 1 year of experience from November onwards, you can apply for 482 visa. But for now, you need to have a 2 years of relevant experience in your own occupation. Then only you are eligible to apply for 482 visa. For 186, the requirement is that you need to have a 3 years of work experience altogether, and then you can go for a direct stream, or else you can go with the 482 visa. You apply for 482 visa and then apply for 186 visa after you have 2 years of work experience in 482 visa. Okay, so in case if you don't have all 3 years of experience to apply and to go as a direct stream of 186 visa. For 494 is it is also an employer sponsored visa, but this employer has to be in regional area. So if your employer is based in regional area and if you started working, you can apply with this visa option, which is 494 visa option, and this is a temporary visa. And this visa, it is a pathway to PR. It is you can apply for permanent residency. After this, you apply for 191 visa category after 3 years of work experience in this one. So this is the visa options that we have for now. Now, if we talk about chef and cook occupations, chef is an MLTSSL list, medium to long-term strategy skill list, which is this means that your occupation is not going anywhere for next 10 years. So this is in highly in demand occupation. For cook, it is on STSL list, which is short-term skill occupation list, which means that this occupation is not going to go for next 3 years or so. After 3 years, they will check again, and once if the requirement has been fulfilled, they may take this occupation out from the list, from the original list, which is as well as skilled occupational list. Okay. Here I also mentioned their underscore code 35133 351 sorry, and for cook is 351411. We will talk about this occupation in the next slide, and that's why I just mentioned you in here, but you don't have to specifically make special attention for now. Now today we are discussing about all the requirements for each of the states. So today I'm going to discuss more about Victoria, South Australia, and Tasmania, that what are the demand in those particular states, and whether if you're targeting from that particular states, whether you should be targeting or you should move your state or something like that. Okay. So this is for state nomination program. State nominations means 190 and 491 visa nomination program, especially for that. So Victoria, so let's start with Victoria. Victoria do not have any occupation list, which means that all the skill occupation lists are eligible, in which cook and chef are eligible to apply to Victoria. Okay, the requirement for Victoria for 190 visa category is that you should be living in Victoria or you should be an offshore candidate. So if you're living in Victoria, you should have a address proof that you're living in here. At the time of nomination, they will ask you last 1 month of living proof. That if you're able to provide it, that is enough for them. So if you're living, that's all good for that, and you are eligible to apply for it. If you want to apply for 491 visa, the requirement is that you should be living as well as working in regional Victoria. And if you're working in a regional Victoria, you can either work in your own occupation or you should be working at skill level 1, 2, or 3. And cook is level 3 program. So if you're working as a cook, then it's good. And or else you should be an offshore. So if you're an offshore, then you can still apply for a 491 visa. So 190 and 491. In Victoria, you can only apply either one of them visa category, which is 190 or 491. If you are applying for 190, that means that you should be living. But if you're applying for 491, you should be working in regional Victoria as well. Now, Victoria has a skill category. I mean, skilled occupational list, not priority skill occupational list, not a skill occupational list like priority occupation sector, in which hospitality is one of the sector for 491 visa. Right. So if you're applying as a chef or a cook for 491, you come into that category or priority occupation, priority sector category. So that means that like they are looking for people who are applying for 491 in hospitality industry, which is going to be beneficial for you. And we have seen invitation for 491 visa as a chef. For pastry cook, I've seen it, I think long time back. It's more than 1 year now. So I will not consider it for now, but for last financial year, I've seen for 491 for chef with 75 points. So or 65, or some of them at 70 as well. So 65 to 75 points. So if you're having those those points, and if you're targeting 491, it's a good option as in Victoria to apply for it. In South Australia, Cookery, they have got their skill occupation list, and Cookery is in their list. So it's good part for them, obviously. Okay. Now, in South Australia, there are mainly four streams. One is offshore, second is graduate stream, third is highly talented, and fourth is living and working in South Australia. Okay. If you want to apply from offshore, you can only apply for 491 visa. You cannot apply for 190 visa because they haven't mentioned in their list for 190 visa. So that you need to think of if you're applying from offshore. Talking about graduate stream visa, that means that you studied over there. For that, you need to have minimum of 1 year of study from South Australia and 6 months of work from South Australia. Then only you get eligible for this graduate stream. Second, we have highly talented stream. And highly talented stream are mainly for robotics, AI, and things like that. So cook and chef are not in that particular stream as such. But we haven't got any such kind of people who applied for as in highly talented. So if you are working in a very big hotel or something like that and highly turnover, then you may contact us and we can look into it and then find out that whether you can apply as a highly talented discuss or not. Fourth category is like living and working in South Australia. So if you're living in South Australia, the requirement is that you should be living at least for 12 months over there, and you should be working for 6 months full time in South Australia. So if you're working for those or for those particular months, then you are eligible to apply for it. So that you get eligible for this occupation. Okay, and then invitation has been seen for chefs and cooks both in South Australia. Next, we move on to Tasmania. Well, Tasmania has a critical list. Unfortunately, cookery occupation were not as a part of critical list for Tasmania occupation, but you are still eligible to apply for as a chef or cook from different stream. Okay. So now the requirement for there are 4 pathways again for 190 and more than 6 pathway for 491 visa. So one is multiple streams at skilled employment and a graduate and established resident. So skilled employed that you've been working over there in in Tasmania for 6 months and have been self-employed. If you have your own restaurant or self-employed, then you should be employed for 12 months in South Australia. If you're working, part-time work is acceptable. So 20 hours of work is acceptable for Tasmania as well in this skilled employment category. Second is skilled graduate program. In this program, if you studied over there for 2 years, 2 calendar years, and have a full time of work experience, then you are eligible for this stream. And for this, your occupation should be of your qualification should be of diploma level. Third is established resident pathway. That means that if you're living in Tasmania for longer period of time, then you get eligible for it. The longer period means that you should be living over in Tasmania for 3 years. And out of those 3 years, 50% of the requirement should be from all over Australia. So, for example, if you lived in Australia for 10 years, you've been living in, say, Victoria, and then you move to Western Australia, and then you move to Tasmania. And in Tasmania, you've been living for 10 years. Then they also want to see that how long in total you are living in Australia. And that has to be more than 50%. So as I gave you an example that you've been living for 10 years in Australia, but for 3 years, so in total you live for 10 years, the 50% requirement is 5 years. So even if you have completed 3 years in Tasmania, you will not be eligible to apply for, that long-term established resident pathway. So it has to be 5 years then. So if you're living for 3 years and working in Tasmania for skill level 1, 2, or 3, at least 20 hours per week, then you get eligible, and that has to be 1 year to 2 years. And if you're working for skill level 4 or 5, then 1.5 years of experience required. And or else if you have a business over there, for example, you're self-employed, you have your own restaurant, then you should be working for 2 years at least, and you should be able to make a payment salary of $70,000 per annum 2 years off. So these are the total altogether requirements for pathways for 190. For 491, again, you can apply. There's different pathways for 190 as well, about 6. I'll show you a little bit on this website that how to look for it. So 190. So let's talk about 491. So for 491, there are mainly 4 pathways for Australian resident and 2 pathways for overseas residents. Okay, so they are altogether 6 pathways. So Tasmania is skilled employment pathway, first one. Second is graduate pathway. Third is established resident pathway, and fourth is Tasmania basis operation pathway. Okay, so in Tasmania skilled employment pathway, you need to have at least 1 year. 6 months of immediate prior to application, 6 months of work experience in skill level and have a job on skill level 1, 2, 3 in ESCO code, and at least work for 20 years. And or else if you are living in working in Tasmania for skill level 4 and 5 for 12 months, then you are eligible to apply for it. Even if you're working for 20 hours per week, you are still eligible to apply for it. Right. And so this is the main requirement for it. There are further other requirements like priority attributes and occupational caveats that we'll talk about once you have that. Once you're eligible, I'll start working on it so we can look into it and discuss for it. Now let's talk about second pathway, which is Tasmania skilled graduate pathway. In this pathway, the requirement is that like you should be you should studied over there in Tasmania. Sorry, skilled work. Okay, yeah. So you should be at least 1 year of experience over there, and for that duration, and out of which your course has to be a diploma level or qualified, right? And yeah, so if you have a group skill level 4 group 4 category occupation list, then you should be working for 40 weeks at least for that durations in that course. So that is for skilled work regional Victoria. Established resident pathway, as I mentioned earlier, that you need to have at least 3 years of living over there. But for 491, the requirement has decreased to 3 years to 2 years. So if you're living for 2 years, and that has to be 50% from Australian resident, obviously, that I mentioned as an example previously. So if you're living in total for 10 years in Australia and not 2 years in regional Tasmania, you're still not eligible. 50% has to be required to live over there. That means 5 years. So if you're living for there, then and your work has to be 12 months at least. And if your occupation is skill level 1 to 3, if you're working as a skill level 4 or 5, you should be working at least for 18 months over there. So this is a requirement for a skilled regional visa pathway. Now the next is business operation pathway. For business operations pathway, again, you need to be working in your business for more than 12 months, and with a salary of 59,500. As it is 491 months, so the salary requirement is like a little bit less on that. So that is some of them. If you are an overseas pathway, then you should have now job offer letter or invitations. In this one, you can only apply as an invitation, so they will invite you for this pathway, right? So this is the whole requirement for Tasmania. Next we have so that's all from our side. So now we have got Ms. Iris Fong with me, and she's going to discuss a bit more about Western Australia and ACT. So Iris, it's now yours turn.
Mayank, can everyone hear me clearly? Yeah. Okay. After the clear explanation of Mayank discussing Victoria, Tasmania, and South Australia, I'm going to talk about the state nomination in WA, Western Australia, and ACT Canberra. First of all, I have a screenshot of the allocation in 2023 to 2024. Yes. Yep. On this table, you can see that this is the allocation for this financial year. We still have like a few more days. So for the next financial year, we are still waiting for the new allocation to be published. But we are expecting a bit increasing in the number of allocation, but not a big increase. As you can see, New South Wales are the highest, New South Wales and Victoria, and then it will be WA. So since we only have a few days, if you want to lodge EOI to have an earlier lodgement date, please do it as soon as possible. Or if you have any questions, just come to us for consultation. Now I'm going to talk about the WA state nomination for cookery occupation, such as cook, chef, baker, and pastry cook. The beauty of WA state nomination is we don't charge for the application fee. So for the application fee, it's 0. And the other beauty is the equal invitation ranking for interstate and overseas candidates. So like same ranking system. Okay, there are 3 main streams. The first one is general stream under Schedule 1. The second is general stream under Schedule 2. And the third stream is graduate stream. We can see that all the 3 occupations, cook, chef, baker, or pastry cook, are on the priority occupation on the list. Of course, for the applicant to lodge EOI and later to apply for the visa, they must meet the DHA requirements for the visa and meet the minimum English requirement, which is like competent English, IELTS 6 or equivalent. The nominate occupation must be on the WA Skilled Migration Occupation list. There are Schedule 1, Schedule 2, and Graduate Occupation list. Okay, for the general stream, the main difference is under Schedule 1, when the applicant receives an invitation, the applicant may need to have at least 1 year Australian work experience or 1 year of overseas work experience in the nominate occupation. This is for 190 visa, and there is additional requirement to require the applicant to have a full-time employment contract in WA for a minimum of 6 months in the related occupation. For this requirement, it could be difficult for like applicant who is just fresh graduate. They don't have the, they can't meet the 1 year work experience, and they may not be easy to get an employment contract in a minimum of 6 months. Okay, for the 491 visa under general stream, Schedule 1, the only requirement is 1 year Australian work experience or 1 year overseas work experience. For Schedule 2, general stream Schedule 2, the requirement is only full-time employment contract in WA for a minimum of 6 months for a 190 visa. And this requirement does not apply to the 491 visa. Lastly, the graduate stream for the Australian graduate in WA, they will need to meet 2 years of WA study requirements, no matter for a 190 visa or for a 491 visa. The qualification must be Cert 3 level or above from an accredited WA educational institution. So this is how it looks in WA state nomination. Now we will go into ACT nomination in the next slide. For ACT nomination, they charge for $300 for the application fee, and there is another point test system apart from the EOI skill select. ACT use Canberra matrix. This is a point-based system as well, similar with EOI. What is the main difference? The applicant must lodge a Canberra matrix first, then to lodge an EOI. Same as like EOI, the minimum point is 65. There are 2 main categories. One is Canberra residents, and the other one is overseas applicants. For ACT, they have like monthly invitation for the occupation. Occupation cap for shift is 15 or less. For cook is 5 or less. For baker or pastry cook is 5 or less. Same as like WA, the applicant must meet the department requirements for the visa and must meet the minimum English requirement. Let's talk about the late Canberra residence requirement. Okay, first of all, residency in Canberra until lodging the Canberra matrix, not until lodging the EOI. So, but at the time of lodging the Canberra matrix, the applicant must live in Canberra for at least 6 months for a 190 visa, or live in Canberra for at least 3 months for a 491 visa. Okay, there are 3 main pathways. For each pathway, you don't compete with the other pathways. Like for example, pathway 1, for nominate occupation that is on the ACT critical skills list, you are only complete the applicant with the pathway 1. For pathway 2, for 475 or 482 visa holder, you only compete with the applicant in pathway 2. And for the pathway 3, small business owner who came in matrix point, only complete with the applicant in the same pathway. Okay, for pathway 1, the requirements is work in Canberra for at least 26 weeks and minimum 30 hours per week for a 190 visa. For 491 visa, the requirement is work in Canberra for at least 13 weeks and minimum 15 hours per week. Okay, for pathway 2, for the 485 or 482 visa, the applicant, the main visa holder sponsored by an ACT employer who worked for the employer for the last 6 months. Okay, the last pathway is pathway 3, the small business owner. The owner must be the majority small business owner of an eligible registered business located in the ACT. So these are the requirements for the Canberra resident to apply for EOI under ACT state nomination. Okay. Second one is overseas applicant. For the overseas applicant, of course, the occupation must be on the ACT critical skills list, no matter for 190 visa or for 491 visa. There are 2 additional requirements. First, the ACT employability. The applicant needs to show that they have researched the ACT labor market and demonstrate that they are employable in Canberra. Next one is relevant overseas, full-time, postgraduate work experience. The work experience must be postgraduate. For 190 visa, the requirement is at least 3 years in last 5 years. For 491 visa, it's at least 1 year in the last 5 years. You can see, not yet. You can see that under residence, I put like the star label in all the column. It means the applicant may get extra points if they have close family ties, live in Canberra. The point will be different. For example, for a spouse or partner, you have extra point. For children or parents, you have less point, but you can claim the point. I have a figure in 2022 to 2023. For the 491 visa under ACT nomination, the minimum points that of the invitation is 55 points. And for 190 visa is 65 points. For last year, 2023 to 2024, for the 491 visa, it is a big increase. The 491 visa, the applicant should have 115 points, and for 190 visa, 125 points. So it is a big increase on the points. So I think for all applicants should carefully consider how you can maximize to get extra points to get the advantage. Okay, in the next slide, since I'm from Hong Kong, I want to speak quickly about the PR pathway for Hong Kong passport holder and BNO passport holders. It's a bit easier for other nationality. There are only 3 steps involved. Step 1, if you listen to Diana's presentation of the course structure, after completing certificate 4, and then apply for professional skill assessment. As Mayank said, the professional skill assessment may take like 2 months or 3 months. Once you obtain the professional skill assessment outcome letter, and you should complete diploma at the same time, so you can apply for 485 visa right away with other supporting evidence. Since we are like Hong Kong passport holder or BNO passport holder, the 485 visa, we have a 5-year visa period. Okay, if you live in Australia for 4 years, you can then apply for PR under 189 visa, Hong Kong stream. If you live in a designated regional area for 3 years, for example, WA, Tasmania, then you can apply for 191 visa under Hong Kong stream. So this is all about the PR pathway for Hong Kong passport holder and BNO passport holder. Thank you for listening, and I will now pass to Hassan to give you presentation. Thank you. Our speaker is not on.
Hi everyone, thanks for such a nice presentation. I'm Hassan Ali, I'm the registered migration agent. I will discuss 2 states, one is Queensland and one is New South Wales. For Queensland, it's very simple. There is a 3 major requirements for applying 190, 491. There is a 3 major requirement. For if you are applying 190 for Queensland, you must have a 0.75. And if you're applying 491, you must have a 0.65. Second major requirement for Queensland, if you're going for 190, you must have a full-time employment last 3 months, and that employment must be 30 weeks per hours. And if you're going for 491, Queensland said you still have a full-time job, but they don't set a duration of that job. Third major requirement for Queensland, if they will invite you, then they will say for 190, you must have a 12-month full-time employment contract. But if you go for 491, it's very simple. They say you must have a provide employment for next 6 months. So if you are looking for Queensland, you must know if you applying 190 as a chef, you must have a 75 points, and if you're applying 491, you must have a 65 points. Second requirement for the work experience, if you're going for 190, you must have a 3-month work experience full-time, minimum 30 hours per week. And if you're going for 491, you must have a full-time employment work. And when they will invite you 491, you're still showing the employment pathway. And second, if they will invite you, you have to show them the employment contract for 190 full-time for next 12 months. And if they will invite you for 491, you must have a 6-month employment contract. So Queensland always have a very less number of seats. Last year, I think for 491, they have a 900 seats, and it's very, very competitive. So if you thinking about Queensland, it's a little bit competitive as compared to other states like Victoria and New South Wales. No, my next is New South Wales. New South Wales is very, very popular, especially for chefs, especially for 491. We have a many our clients. They will go to 491 invited as a chef in New South Wales. In New South Wales, there is a one major requirement. When you go for 190, you must show 6-month evidence of living in New South Wales. It means if you're applying New South Wales, you must be residing in New South Wales for 6 months. And if you're going for 190 as a chef, we always advise our clients, they must have a highest point. So New South Wales, if you have a higher point, they will invite you in a 196, in 190. And also in 190, you must be resided in New South Wales for last 6 months. Second, New South Wales is very popular to 491. In 491, they have a 2 pathway, pathway 1 and pathway 2. Mostly our clients are got the invitation from pathway 1 as well as pathway 2. Pathway 1, they will set you must living and working in a New South Wales for last 6 months. In last 6 months, you must be working in your nominated occupation. In last 6 months, you must be work full-time in the nominated occupation, and you must be work full-time 38 hours per week, and your salary package must be $35,000. If you have a $35,000 salary package, and if you live in New South Wales from last 6 months, you can directly apply New South Wales Pathway 1 state nomination. Second, sometimes people are there is another pathway New South Wales in 491, that is pathway 2. You don't need to directly apply New South Wales 491 ROI. Sometimes states automatically invites you, but on that 491 you still need to show the highest point.
Thank you, all presenters. And guys, thank you for joining the session. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Enjoy the
Bye.
afternoon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.